I recently went shopping at my friend's antique store in Chicago called Beyond Grandma's House. I went looking for some cool items to upcycle. I found this barn light and this old stool with a broken seat. With a little time and creativity, I came up with what would be one of my favorite upcycling projects ever. A light-up bar table with an epoxy resin top. Now if you're interested in seeing how this table came to life, keep watching. When I saw this old building or barn light, it was love at first sight. My first thought was to turn it into a coffee table or a sofa table. It had a small dent on the side, which I just pounded out. I didn't want to paint it. I think it's perfect with its imperfections. When I saw this stool then, a couple weeks after I procured the barn light, my light bulb went off. I could remove the broken seat, then marry the light with the stool for a match made in, well, Grandma's house. Since the light mount was bigger than the top of the stool base, I needed to come up with an interface between the two. Off to the garage where I found this thick scrap piece of oak, which I got from my cousin Nick's basement when he moved. After a visit with my router, the connection link between the stool and the light is complete. Time to work on the tabletop. For that, I decided to use epoxy with a mold. I'm using a deep pour epoxy with a mold from a company called Let's Resin. I just finished making an epoxy table a couple weeks ago and I used this mold for it.
Look at that, that's nice and shiny.
I initially wanted a round piece of glass for the top, but I think epoxy is the better choice. It'll be nearly 1 inch thick and I can add colors to the resin to obscure some of the light that I plan to add inside of the light. After demolding, here's how it came out. You never really know how it's going to come out when you add the inks, as the colors tend to blend in unpredictable patterns. The top is reversible. At first I was going to use a regular light bulb inside the fixture. This, however, would require the table to be plugged into a power outlet. For a bar table, that might be a little dangerous. You don't want a wire on the floor where people can trip over it. I decided on LED lights. The cool thing about LED lights is that you can change it to any color. There's all different color modes and patterns to choose from. Depending on the power of your USB battery charger, this thing can be lit all day. Now the epoxy top can't just sit on the hard metal rim of the light shade, so I'm adding this rubber edging that I bought on Amazon. This is going to help keep the top from sliding around since it won't be attached. I could have left the stool base as it was. Instead, I preferred to do a simple restoration. Some 120 grit sandpaper is doing a good job removing most of the old finish. This doesn't need to be sanded down to the bare wood. Once the outer shell of the finish is removed and some of the underneath stain is blended somewhat evenly, this thing can be stained. In less than an hour, I'm ready to apply some Minwax dark walnut stain. After the stain dries, a couple coats of polyurethane to finish it off. Off camera, I joined the light to the base and noticed a big problem. The light shade rocks or pivots in the base. There's a spring inside that allows movement. Now this isn't good for a tabletop to flex. So I taped off the surfaces and the bottom and I poured epoxy into the cavity inside the base. After drying overnight, it was rock solid. Now it's time to bring this table back to Beyond Grandma's house to show the owners, Mary Jo and Bob, their new sale item.
Hey, how you doing?
Got a haircut.
Tom from Alley Pick? That's Tom from Alley Pick.
You remember what it looked like before, right? So
there was a couple components. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! What the heck, dude?
Cool.
oh, but wait.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
Grab this.
Grab this, he says. I'm worried. Oh, look at that. Hold on. Ah, look, it magnetizes.
All right, push the on button, but you got to get close to it.
I gotta see where the on button is. I'm blind. Oh, there it is.